I'll introduce myself in my mother tongue, and then I'll do a welcome to country for these beautiful students in this school who belong in this country just as much as what my people do. So I'll say to you, Ungarie, Mark Sadler, Nadu Nurigilang Radrigibia, Nadu Injamara Mujigang Bulmainbu, Nadu Injamara Nurembang Ungarie, Mundanguru. My name is Mark Sadler, proud Radri man. I respect my elders, I respect my nation, and I respect the people of Ungarie. And I'll also say, Gawa Bana Radrigu Nurumbangu, welcome to Radri country, because this is Radri country. It has been for about 120,000 years and still current now. Our Radri people still actively look after that country with the help now of the local landholders and the local people that are also in Ungarie. So my mob come from a place called Lake Angelica, Uabrong. My mum's my white skin, my dad's my black skin. I'm a very proud Radri man. So my dad played a lot of football around your town there, Ungarie. So we know the area very, very well. So it's very important that I do a welcome the country for you all, because to understand that Radri people do not own this land. We've never owned it. We belong to it. And that's very important. So when you own something, you never belong to it. It's very important to understand that. So you people that now live in this nation here, it's part of your country as well. I just want you just to understand that Radri people have been here for a long, long time, and we're still here, and we need your help to try and save a lot of our culture in and around your areas. So it's very important. Bush tucker is very important as well, and I'd love to be invited out to your school one day to look at your burumul, your bush tucker, burumul dal, bush tucker, and see what you're growing out there, because a lot of schools tend to put vegetation in that won't grow in the area. You need to use your native grasses and your native trees and species that grow there. You must also remember that Radri people weren't just wandering around as nomadic people, just trying to find a place to live. We did have permanent homes, and we also are farmers, the same as you people. So we invented the first plough ever invented in the universe, called a bogan pick. And when I go to Trundle teaching very soon, the land care group will bring me in those special stones that are actually ploughs, where we ploughed paddocks and cultivated and put crops in. So you people that live on farms and cultivate your crops, you've got a very close connection to Radri people, because we also are farmers as well. So we've done that for a long, long time. I thought what I might do for a second is I thought I might do a little bit of artwork for you and show you something that's very important to your area. So I'm just going to add an extra screen onto my video, and I'm going to draw something for you. So I've got my text as my crayons here. Now, I don't read and write. I don't see words very well. So my skill sets are more dance and oral and making didgeridoos, your darkies, and doing artwork. So our Radri artwork and our Radri language has been in our artwork for a long, long time. And you've got some very special places out there that still have artwork in and around your area. So if I was to do this line through here, I hope you can all see that. Can you all see that okay? Yeah. And if I was to do this, and if I was to put Numbai Bula 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 Mara, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a track of an animal that lives around your nation still. And it's a very special animal to me, and it's called a guga. You'll know that as a goanna. And the goanna is one of my totems. And a totem for Aboriginal people, Radri people, is, it tells me where I come from. It tells me who I can marry and who I can't marry. And it also tells me I'm not allowed to eat goanna, because it's a very important animal to me. I must protect that animal for all my life. So when I draw that tracks in the sand in my paper, and we drew tracks in the sand for our young people like you, we were teaching you how to track animals and how to tell which way they go, if they were injured, if they were going fast. If I do another line through there, that's a guga going very fast, because its tail and its tummy get out of synchronization and it starts to leave marks in the sand. That's a goanna moving very fast, and we know what direction it's going in. Now, if I show you a picture of Megalania, which is a small dinosaur that lived with my people, you'll understand why it's very important to be able to track animals and understand what they are. So I'll show you a picture of an animal called Megalania that only stopped being around here about 30,000 years ago and lived with my people and our children. We had to be very careful of this animal. So I'll show you a picture of that. And that's Megalania. That's a plastic now model of an animal and a child in front. And that'll show you how big the goannas are, used to be in your country. And we had to protect our children from that. So it's very important to understand that the animals with Wiradjuri people were very, very large. And we also had to make sure we had lots of fire and campfires around to keep those animals away. But it's very important when you do artwork is to draw the tracks of the animal and not the animal, because we need to know how to track them. Now, your bush tucker garden you're putting in is very significant to the area. And a lot of times your bush tucker is transported and moved around by the budgeons. Budgeons are birds. And also dinawan. Dinawan is emu. And the emus eat lots of our fruit and lots of our crops. And then they take the seeds in their stomach, and the emus also eat rocks. And when they eat the rocks, they go into their tummy, and the rocks activate and rub on the seeds and the fruit. And when the emu does his business on the ground, in that business is a seed, and in that seed will start to grow a plant or a tree. So if we don't have emus in the environment, we lose a lot of our bush tucker. So think about your kurrajong trees that grow in your area, we call yama, and think about other plants like saltbush and emu bush and all those sort of things. And what we call gundong, you will call kondong. All those plants are transported by the emus and the birds. So it's very important when you do bush tucker in your gardens to make sure you have flowering plants that come in. And remember, sometimes at night time, you'll have an animal called naranda or naradin. So near you is a place called naradin, which actually in our language means bat. Now, when the bats fly at night time, they eat the plants and they touch the flowers that flower at night time, and they help the flowers to grow. Same as your possums, willow, and same as your bunja, glider squirrels. They all help to make your gardens grow. So if you have nice flowering plants, naru will come in, the bee, and they'll help your plants to grow. So it's very important. When you do artwork as well, there was a child did some artwork for me a little while ago, and I'll just bring that up for you. It was a young child, about 4 or 5 years old, and she drew this for me after I was talking about the emus on country, how they were going out and eating the bush tucker. And she drew a mum and dad emu, a dinawan, and she also drew one of the dinawans, one of the emus, sitting on top of the eggs, which we call gabuga. Now, that emu that sits on top of the eggs, that'll be dad, because mum lays 18 or 20 eggs, gabuga. She hops up, yanana, 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 she walks away, and Babin, dad, comes in, and he Wibiana sits on the eggs, and he hatches them for over 60 and 70 days. And when those little boobajis come out, those babies come out, dad teaches them all the tricks and how to survive in country. Mum doesn't go too far away. Mum's out bringing food back for dad, and mum's also keeping the foxes and the eagles and the predators away from her family. So she's a very deadly animal. When Wiradjuri people lived here by ourselves, those emus weren't the size they are now. The emus were 4 and 5 times bigger than what they are now. They were quite large. And so were the womboin, which is kangaroo, womboin. They were also 4 and 5 meters tall. So they were 4 or 5 times bigger than me. And they used to eat trees, and they were massive. So those animals have downsized and come smaller, but they still like to eat our food. So sometimes it's okay for that to happen. The reason why I'm showing you dinawan now, the emu now, because in the night sky, you know a place called the Milky Way. The night sky is actually, we call Billabong, the river stopping. And in the Billabong, we see an emu now that's running. And when the emu runs in the Milky Way, we're able to go and take the eggs. But when we see the legs go up, we don't touch the eggs. When we see the legs go up, that's dad sitting. And that's going to happen very shortly now. So it's very important to understand to look at the sky and the animals. And that's when you know how to put your crops in to start to do your cropping systems. So it's very important to do that. So what I thought I might show you now is, I thought I might show you some more megafauna of a womboin. So this is a womboin we call kangaroo. See, its face is round and hasn't got a long nose. because it used to eat trees, and this animal had a very, very big foot, and it used to reach up into the trees and pull the trees down and eat the trees. That lived of my people, and it lived in your country. Another animal that lived in your country down there was this animal. It's called Marsupial Lime, and we found bones around your area and also bones around Wellington Caves. And it was a very quick animal, about as big as a little cow, very fast, could run about 40 kilometers an hour, and had very large teeth, and it ate meat. So we had to be very careful of our children and us around that animal because it could attack us. So we had to make sure that you children knew how to look for tracks in the sand for animals, and how to track animals, and how to make sure you stay away from them at certain times of the year. So that's very important. You probably didn't know about that, but that's very important to everything in the world. What's happening also at the moment, and I'll be mindful of time, is because I don't read and write, I do photography, and I take pictures of the night sky, which we call Mulawer. And I've taken this picture of the Giwan, which is the moon. And it's very hard to take a picture of the moon. You've got to be very patient. But why I'm showing you this picture of the Giwan, of the moon, is because this also tells us when to plant our crops and when the animals are going to have their boobages. And it also shows us how to find our way home. So when you see a big full moon like this, sometimes out in your country, you're very lucky. You can see the full night sky because you don't have many street lights. I want you one day with your teachers and your family one day, when you're looking up in the skies, to look at the moon, the Giwan, to look at the Buddha, the stars, and try and look at the Milky Way, and one day try to work out where the emu is and work out where its legs is. And one day if I come over there, I'll show you the little trick about how to find that. It's very important. So the Giwan, the moon, is very important to us. The Giwan also controls your water. It also controls the ocean waves and the tides. And you're very lucky that you've got a special Durran, a creek that runs through your town called Humbug Creek. And that Humbug Creek is a traditional way for Wiradjuri people to walk around country and follow those creek lines. And the reason why your town is there, Ungarie, is because Wiradjuri people used to live there for a long, long time and travel from there back up to Lake Jellicoe. So Lake Jellicoe is actually Gujeligu, which means a shallow dish that holds water, which is what the lake is. So it's very important. The children have seen the video, haven't they? They've seen the video. So if you want to play that, Megan, and I'll be quiet. And then I think the children have got some questions to ask me, which I'm really excited to know what they want to know. So if you want to do that, that'd be fantastic.
Hey, Yamandumarang Muji, are you well? I hope so. You and Nadi, Mark Sadler, proud Wiradjuri man. Want to have a quick yarn to you today about bush tucker. Maybe some of you schools and maybe some of your mob want to learn more about bush tucker, how to put it in, and also a bit about bush medicine. So let me just Wibiana sit on this old tree trunk, rest my weary booyal, my booyal, my legs. And I'm going to start a little fire for you, a little wind, because I'm a bit berber. Rightio, let's get into having a yarn up. 80,000 plus years my Wiradjuri mob have been looking after this country, and we continue to look after this country. Now there's other people around here like you, and we need your help to help us to care and love for this country. So what's important about bush tucker and to know about Wiradjuri people is, often people think about Wiradjuri people, Aboriginal people, as being nomadic, like just wandering around the place and hunting and gathering and collecting. Well, that's not the case. Especially for my Wiradjuri people and the other Aboriginal people in Australia, we are actually farmers, where we actually cultivate the land, care for the land, and use some skills, coal fire burning, where you burn country and cool fire, to rejuvenate our bush tucker and our plants, encourage the barley organ, the animals, to come back. So what's important today is, I just wanted to show you a little bit about, Behind me you'll just see a blank landscape with a line running through it. And some people look at our country and think it's just like that, it's just blank, bland. It's actually not. If you start to look behind that and start to understand our nation, you'll start to see Ungarie, the sun. You'll start to see clouds that are carrying Ungarie, rain. And then you'll start to see galing coming out. And then you'll start to understand that as we have all those processes, warming and cooling and wet and cold and hot, we start to have rivers and creeks that start to flow, and then we start to have plants that start to pop up. A lot of those plants don't just pop up, they've been cultivated by animals and people, especially the budgeons, the birds. The birds tend to eat a lot of seeds, like this fella down here. Choo! Off he goes, and when he does his business somewhere else after he's eaten that seed, he will drop that seed down under the ground with his business, and then it'll start to turn into a beautiful tree or a plant. You've also got to look behind me and see how Wiradjuri people have and still cultivate the land. So you start to see old mate up here, old Gibby man up here, walking along, and he's ploughing the paddocks with a stone tool. So that was the first plough ever invented in the universe. And they go up and down, as you can see. And then when he's finished, another person will come along with a gulaman, a plate that we cut out of trees for different purposes. And in that we collect our seeds, and we can distribute our seeds into those little cultivated areas that we've done. And then look what happens. Up grows plants. So plants like yam daisies, plants like berrigan, we call berrigan, which is emu bush. I grow that at home for bush medicine. You might also see lots of yama out in the bush. Yama are kurrajong trees, so we use those for bush medicine. We also strip a bit of bark off to make our rope without killing the tree, because the tree is very important to us. Things like river mint, we'll grow those as well, using our food, and also use river mint for keeping flies and mosquitoes away. So it's, you know, we have lots of bush tucker and things. But I'm going to bring in a friend of mine. Come on, come in here. G'day, Yamandulmarang. This is Potsy. Well, Potsy's actually my little robot friend, and he's got a little TV screen in him. And I'm just going to show you little bits and pieces about, you know, he'll flick it on. Sometimes it mucks up a little bit, so he's got to get going, warm up. But he'll show you a little video screen while I'm having a yarn to you, and it'll show you plants starting to grow. It'll show you, you know, different places in the area, different photographs of mine that'll show you the country and show you all sorts of things. But what's important is, if you might look at that little video there too, is maybe you should start to design your own gardens and bush tucker, bush medicine gardens in your schools and your homes. So what do you do first? Get a bit of paper and draw your school, draw your house, draw a plan of probably where you want that bush tucker garden to go. The next thing is, I'd go and talk to your local mudjigang, your elders, and your local people in the area, and also go for a drive out in the bush when you're allowed to move around and see what grows naturally in your area. Out here we have berrigan, which is emu bush. Out here we have bulagai, which is salt bush. We use that for food, and out here we have lots of yama, kurrajong trees, which are distributed by the birds and they eat the seeds. So I would suggest you draw a little plan on a bit of paper, your schools, your homes, plan out where you want the garden, plan out where your nearest water sources are, like your taps and stuff, and then go and talk to your local elders, your mudjigang, and go and look in the bush and see what's growing, because a lot of people try to grow stuff that doesn't grow in your country and it just dies, so it's very unfortunate. So thanks, Potsy. See you, mate. You can trottle off there now. So, bush tucker, bush medicine, it's everywhere. We still grow it. The Wiradjuri people still look after it and cultivate our land. Wiradjuri people still have got a huge connection to our country. Look out! God, you got to watch out for them budgeons. Hello, what have you been doing? Hey, dinner one. Yeah? Dinner ones also eat. Yeah, good on ya. Dinner ones also eat plenty of seeds and tree seeds, and they also move bush tuck around in the country for us. So take your time to have a look around, take your time to talk to your local elders, start to plan out your bush tucker garden and look at some medicine plants, and let's try and see if we can start to grow some stuff ourselves that is nice to eat and also very healthy. Hey, hope you learned something today. Guwayu, safe travels. Look after yourself and your mob.
Hey, we're back. I hope that didn't bore you too much, that video, but it's very important to talk about bush tucker and animals and the connection to country. And I'm so proud of Ungarie that you're doing a bush tucker garden out there. And I'd love to be able to come out one day and be invited by you people to come and have a look. I would be very proud to do that. So I think Alex and school, I think the school is going to ask me some questions soon. And I'd be very, very proud for them to do that to me, and I'll answer as honestly as I can. I don't know what their questions are, so I'm very excited to find out.
So we would like to invite Ungarie Central School to ask their first question.
How is bush tucker stored?
What's your name?
Shaylee Crofts.
Very proud to meet you. Bush tucker was stored with very dry seeds. Wiradjuri people have got a farming practice where we have cultivated the land for many thousands of years, and we use a practice called cold fire burning, cultural fire burning, where we don't burn the bush in hot fire. Our seeds are normally just below the soil from last year's crops. And if you put a cool fire through that area, that activates the soil temperature and it lets the seeds grow again from just below the seed bank under the soil. So also a lot of our crops that we cultivated and still cultivated are drought resistant. They don't need a lot of rain. And we do prepare the seeds and we do dry the seeds and keep them in a special place under the ground so we can use them for next year. So that video I made for you all will show you how we cultivate the ground as you do now, and then how we use our coolamans or our goulamans to carry those seeds and plant them. Because we had a lot of people to feed and we didn't eat a lot of meat. We didn't eat a lot of womboin and dinner one meat because meat's a ceremony and a celebration. Also, a lot of meat tends to be not real good for you. So we eat a lot of plants and tree saps and flowers and water animals like what you call yabby. We call them yabi. That's the real word. So thanks for that question. I'm very proud you've asked me that. And most of your seeds will stay just below the soil. If you put the right temperature fire through, they will grow again. That's a very clever question.
Hi, my name is Isla, and I want to know, how did the First Nation people make their farming tools?
Say that again, how they make their what, sorry?
Farming tools.
Farming tools. Thank you very much. You have a place not too far away from you, which I've taken my bub and my father to. My father's very old. He's 83. And my people don't live that long. I'm 62 and I'm very old for my people. So Wiradjuri people don't live as long as non-Aboriginal people. We need to make that change. But most of our farming tools were made from a material we call walang, which is rock and stone. And in Wagga, we have a very special place that I protect, which is only one of 5 sites in Australia that is an active axe quarry. You also have one very not too far from near you called Rankin Springs. And I need to protect that quarry because people have been taking rock away. We need to make sure that's safe. So rock was what we made our special cultivation tools from. If we want to make a hunting tool, we make them out of doona. We make them out of sticks. So I make bar gun boomerang, and I make my gumma, my spears out of wattle trees because they're wattle's very hard. We also use wattle trees to use as digging sticks that we can also cultivate the ground with. So that's a very good question. Walang, stone, and doona, sticks. Thanks for that question. You're very clever, the school. They're trying to trick me up, but I'm going all right so far, I think. What's the next question? Who's next?
Samantha Spencer. What are different ways you can prepare bush tucker?
Oh, Samantha, very good question. I'm very proud to meet you. Bush tucker, a lot of our bush tucker, if you're going to eat meat, you obviously need to cook it. Remember, I just showed you some photographs of big megafauna. So you can call them small dinosaurs if you like. They were with our people for a long time. So you have fire we call wind. And you always have fire around you. Everyone's got their own little fireplace. And you children at your age, we don't see you as children. We see you as young adults in our Wiradjuri culture. So you're very important to us. You're hunters and you come with us and collect and look after people too. So you're very important in life at your age. Cooking tucker is done over fire, but you also eat a lot of bush tucker raw, like yarran, witchetty grubs, and things like that. So fire is important. When you have a fire, you put river rocks, river wallang, that it would be billa wallang, river rocks around your fire because they don't explode and they hold the heat. So you have very large rocks around your fire, and when they get very hot, that's what you put your tucker on. You cook it in. You also cook your tucker in the coals and the charcoal, because if you eat a little bit of charcoal, and you shouldn't eat charcoal yourselves, you know what you're doing, but if you eat a little bit of charcoal, it gets rid of your intestinal worms. So if you cook a bit of your tucker in charcoal and a bit of charcoal is good for you. My dad used to clean his teeth with charcoal, and a lot of our Aboriginal people had very good teeth because we cleaned our teeth with charcoal. So you can get charcoal toothpaste, but always when you're eating bush tucker, if you see something in the bush, red can mean dangerous, red can mean good. So just be careful what you eat before you touch anything. But thanks, Samantha, for that question. That was very clever.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Batty, and I would like to know what native plants can be used to make bush tucker medicine.
Ooh, well, thank you. In the start of my video, I saw there was a plant that I put through there right at the start. Have a look at that later. And it looks like a 4-leaf clover, but it's actually not. It's a plant that we call nardoo, and nardoo is bush medicine. Nardoo is also a plant that killed Burke and Wills, the early surveyors that come through, because they didn't eat it right. We told them how to eat it and they didn't cook it right. And it does grow in your country. So those sort of native plants and bush tucker plants are very important. So we have another plant called budine, which people call sneezeweed. And also a plant called berrigan, which I mentioned before, which is emu bush. I grow that at my home here for my dad. And I take it off when I put the flowers and the stalks and the leaves into some water. And I put that onto in a billy. And I put that onto a very cool fire, and I don't boil it. I just get it simmering for some hours until all the tree and the flowers break down into a liquid. And then I put that in the container for Dad. And then he puts it onto his knees and onto his joints. And it's like Voltaren. It's like relieves arthritis and swelling of joints. And also if you have a little bit, it also is good for your ulcers. So bush tucker is all around. It can be eaten raw, and sometimes you need to cook it, and sometimes you only eat a little bit of it. So once again, if you ever go in the bush, we all know what traffic lights are. You haven't got traffic lights in Ungarie, but we all know the colours, and red means danger, stop, and green means go. But in the bush, sometimes red can mean you can eat me, and sometimes red means don't eat me. So once again, when I say we're in the bush and you're eating something and it tastes bitter, don't eat it. But be very careful what you eat. Talk to your local elders out there and your local families. They'll know what the bush tucker is. But that's a very good question. Thank you.
My name's Caleb, and I'd like to know if there are any bush tucker foods that taste like lollies.
Whoa, yeah, that's a good question. My dad used to eat a lot of them. And there's a thing called snotty gobble. Doesn't sound real good, does it? But it grows in your country out there, and it's called mistletoe. And a mistletoe is a native plant that sticks to the trees by a special process that the birds do, and it can kill the tree if there's too much in there. So my family and my Wiradjuri people would take some of that out, and we make our bundis, our hitting sticks and throwing sticks out of it. But you can also eat some of that. Also, there's a thing called lerps, where when insects eat the leaf, and budja butterflies eat leaves, and gabang grubs eat leaves. When insects eat leaves and they do their business, leave their excretions behind, a lot of that is sugar. and they put little bubbles on the back of the leaves. So once again, be careful what you eat. Don't eat bush tucker you don't know. But my dad used to lick the back of the leaves and it tastes like lollies because it's straight sugar. But be very careful what you eat. Yeah, good question.
My name is Brogan, and I'm wondering, how do you know which plants are poisonous?
Well, when you've lived in the country here for 120,000 years, and my video at the start says 80,000 years plus, we're getting older and older as we know, and we know we're very old. And you're very lucky in your country you live there that you have scientific evidence of our people being around there for a long time. And we're still here. How do we know what to eat? Is over 120,000 years of tasting and trying, and probably some of our people dying from eating the wrong food. You get to know what you're allowed to eat. It's like an animal. Animals know what they can and can't eat, but it's taken them millions of years to understand that. So Wiradjuri people for 120,000 years, probably longer, only have tried a little bit of food, not eat a lot. And if it tastes bitter, you don't eat it. And I said Burke and Wills unfortunately passed away in Australia because they ate a plant called nardoo, which tastes good, but our mob told them you've got to prepare it a special way, and if you don't, it'll make you really crook. And they died from it. They didn't listen properly to us. So bush tucker out there, I said, think about what I said about red and green lights. Think about an apple. An apple is red and an apple is green. So you can eat an apple, no problems at all. But sometimes in the bush, those colors will tell you to don't eat me. So just be very careful. That's a good question. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Samuel Wilson, and our school is wondering, our school has made a cultural garden, and we're wondering what kind of bush tucker plants we could add to it.
Great question, mate. Good question. I'd suggest to you, talk to your farmers and your local people on the land and the local Wiradjuri Aboriginal people. And everywhere you drive from Ungarie to Kujeligal, Lake Jellicoe, or back to West Wyalong, or all around the area, look on the side of the roads and see what's growing where no one's watering them. Look at the plants that grow on the side of the road and in the crops when you don't crop for a while and see what starts to come up. And you'll see native plants. So don't always think bush tucker has to be like a little flowering plant. It can be a tree. So think about yama, currajong trees. They're normally transported by the birds. Think about bullagai saltbush. I know saltbush grows out where you are. It grows everywhere out there. And I also know the emu bush grows there. Saltbush is very good. You always pick the saltbush from the top of the saltbush, never from the bottom, because the animals do their business around the bottom. You always pick from the top where it's the fresh part. And you just try a little bit. And if it tastes really salty, then you take some of that home. And what you do is you clean it, dry it, chop it up onto a board and let it dry and put it into a container. And that is a really good salt that I use in my wigay, my bread and my dampers, and in my spaghetti sauces. So bullagai saltbush grows there. So I always say to schools, look around your environment, that's what's growing there now, and try and put the same planting. Because if you bring up plants from another nation, country in, they won't grow. So grow what grows there in your country. Here we go. Do we get through the questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
I must say to your school, you are very respectful. And I must say to you, Mandanguwu, thank you very much for asking me those questions, because I'm so proud to be able to talk to your school. I'm so proud to be able to share my culture, because you young ones are our next leaders. You young ones are our next politicians and parents and our doctors and mechanics like I am. And you young ones know what's on the farms that you live on. And one day you might invite me back out to have a look and see what you've got out there, because I work with a lot of archaeologists and a lot of farmers, and I find lots of grinding plates and stone axes that we protect, and we help the farmers to protect special trees as well. So you should never fear our culture. You should embrace our culture. And you young ones are our next generations of respectful people coming through that will help Wiradjuri and Australians to save a very old culture that is part of your culture. So I thank you very much for that. You don't realise how much it makes me so proud to talk to your school today. So Mandanguwu, thank you. When I say hello to you, if you can watch my na in my mouth when I talk, can you in the classroom, you young ones, say yamandu?
Yamandu.
Marang.
Marang.
See, my mouth's open. Yamandu.
Yamandu,
Marang.
Marang,
Now that means are you well? And if you're well, you say Nawa.
Nawa,
So can you say Yamandu,
Yamandu,
Marang?
Marang,
Now say that fast. Say Yamandu Marang.
Yamandu, Marang,
Nawa.
Nawa,
So you're asking me, am I well? I'm asking, and you're saying yes. And now we're about to finish up to say, not goodbye. Radri, don't say goodbye. Can you say guwayu?
Guwayu,
It sounds like go away, you. Can you say guwayu?
Gawayu,
Guwayu?
Gawayu,
And that means it's not goodbye. It means I will see you later sometime and you take care of each other. So guwayu.
Guwayu.
Very proud to meet all you mob.
Thank you for teaching us about your Wiradjuri culture and letting us know about interesting questions we'd like to know.
I'd like to thank you for listening, and my Wiradjuri culture is also your culture. My Gilang, my stories, my Madu Gilang, many stories are also your stories. This Nurembang, this country we all share today and live on, is your country too. So we need to work together as Australians to save the oldest living culture anywhere in the universe is the Wiradjuri, and that's part of your nation, and you should be very proud of our old culture because it's part of yours. So I say to you, Mandang Guru Muji, thank you, friends, for listening up, because it's very important in 2022 that we share with each other. And Wiradjuri people have never been about me. It's about us. It's about the community looking after each other. It's not about individuals. It's looking after everybody. So thank you for that, Yana. Very proud of you.
Mark, we would like you to we would like to invite you to our school to teach us more about the Wiradjuri culture.
Ooh, well, there's only one reason. There's two reasons why I'll come out there. One, you've invited me, and two is if you have a packet of Tim Tams.
we can do that, Mark. Definitely.
Don't tell my wife though, because I'm not going to eat Tim Tams. But no, I would love to be invited to your school and to share and sit down and talk to you and do some artwork and listen to you people about your country too, because it's important that I know who you are and where you come from. So I would be very proud to be invited out there in your country. So thank you very much. Mandangu. Mandangu.